response. We have a lot of sign-ups. I haven't checked lately what the number is, but folks who are emailing, asking me to put out videos on myth-busting opportunities is what I call them. So parents that have heard, well, your child won't be socialized or you won't be prepared for the real world, and I love busting those myths, trust me. And just really being realistic with parents about the paradigm shift that needs to occur, which is, taking ownership of and responsibility for our children's education, regardless of where they sit, James. You could choose public, private, home. It doesn't matter. As parents, we still have responsibility for and ownership of our child's education.
We have got a great guest with us today. She joins us live here on our big broadcast. Thea Shoemake with us. homeschoolreadyornot.com is the official website. So what has been some feedback or criticism that you've got on this project so far?
Well, a lot of it is, homeschoolers have been a target for a while. It's just not always out in the open. And so I'll get a lot of backdoor challenges where people will email in saying, hey, not everybody can homeschool. They're really building straw man arguments. And so it's interesting because that's why we exist, to kind of bust the communicating and logical fallacies, which it seems like everybody does nowadays. So we want to be real with parents. We want to be real with about the lifestyle, and a lot of it too is people that just don't want it. It's kind of like the COVID thing. Misery loved company, and people wanted you in the tribe of the narrative. Right? And if you question that or dared speak out or wanted to exit that group, then you were kind of outcast for good, so to speak. And so a lot of parents have told me that when they express their thoughts to their peers of, hey, you know what, we're considering homeschooling or looking at other options, they become a pariah, so to speak. So we want to assure them that community is paramount in the homeschool lifestyle. And, I listened to Bobby Kennedy in one of his speeches, and he said, I lost all my friends, but I made new ones. And a lot of them are real. So that's kind of the direction that has gone.
We have got a great guest with us today. She joins us live here on our big broadcast. So for folks that haven't heard you on the broadcast before, can you tell us about your background and what inspired you to become a homeschool advocate and founder of Homeschool Ready or Not?
That's a great story. So I've always been involved in, well, not always, but for the past 25 years or so, I've been involved in state, local, and national policies, especially with regard to education. I've always believed in unbridled liberty in education because I believe innovation is the key to, raising all ships, so to speak. And I think with more of that allows every educational environment to thrive. And I was in Columbus during one of the debates on an education policy, and someone who was there let slip that homeschool, and this was before I homeschooled, and I asked about the status of homeschoolers under this particular policy, and an aide that was there said, oh, well, homeschoolers are always a target. We've just not gotten to them yet. And that was kind of a blessing and a curse, because I realized there was an agenda about which I was not supposed to know, and subsequently could not do anything about. So that certainly made me pay attention to everything that was going on. And that was someone from, ostensibly from, at that time, my side of the aisle. So I learned about the Uniparty pretty quickly. And so I've just been involved ever since. And when our children were born, I was ready to homeschool. My husband was not. And as a result, our oldest went to traditional school for a year. And, James, it was actually the socialization issue that flipped the switch for my husband to be fully on board with homeschool.
Fantastic. Fantastic. We have got a great guest with us today. She joins us live here on our big broadcast. Thea Shoemake is with us. She is fantastic. So what challenges do parents commonly face when considering homeschooling, and how does your platform address some of these challenges?
I think the biggest challenge is the mindset. You know, like anything that's worth it, James, homeschooling can be challenging on a good day, but not for the reasons people think. It's not necessarily because of calculus or physics or any of that. There are so many wonderful resources out there that it's almost overwhelming. I think what's difficult for people who are just getting started is, again, that mindset and that responsibility, that weight that you feel. And I liken it to bringing your firstborn home from the hospital and realizing after a few hours, holy cow, no one's coming to get this kid. So it's mine, right? And so you learn how to roll, you get into a routine, seasons change, and you keep moving forward. And that's how homeschooling is, whether you are doing it as a refuge or a calling, short-term, long-term, whatever the situation. If you are just take grace, give yourself grace, give your children grace, certainly people can learn to roll with that mindset. But that's the main challenge, is that responsibility lies with you, but that's also very empowering. And once parents get that under their belt a little bit, and we saw this a little bit during the distance learning of COVID, after which a lot of parents said, you know what, I think I can do this. I think my child can be here all day, or I'm working remote 3 days a week. It takes such much less time at home than it does at an actual traditional school environment to get the academics in. I think we might try this. And so it is empowering for a lot of parents.
We have got a great guest with us today. Joins us live here on our big broadcast. Thea Shoemake is with us. She is amazing. She has got Homeschool Ready or Not. So could you share some key tips or advice for parents who are just starting their homeschooling journey?
Absolutely. So we funneled it down to 3 key process items. Get legal, get curricula, and get community. Now, the last, community, is most important. I just like the way that rolled off the tongue. Find community, and we show you how to do that on the website. Getting legal, making sure that you're in compliance with the state laws. We show you how to do that on the website. It's on the homepage, homeschoolreadyornot.com. There are 3 information sessions ready to go for you. And then get curricula, which, you know, a lot is important, James, but when you're first starting out, and that's who we're addressing at Homeschool Ready or Not, when you're first starting out, certainly it is about getting into that paradigm shift. And I hate to say survival because there's a negative connotation to it, but it's just getting into a different swing of how you're going to roll as a family. And so that certainly is paramount. And we also go over, you know, what is your budget and what are the resources available to you as a parent, whether it's your public library, whether it's Khan Academy, you know, what are the options for you according to your budget.
We've got Thea Shoemake with us today. She joins us live here on our big broadcast, coast to coast, border to border on iHeartRadio. Also, AMFM247.com, tune in, iTunes, KFRK in Denver, as well as 50-plus AM/FM stations across the country and around the world. Also, we're going to be putting this on our Rumble channel, BitChute, Clout Hum, and, of course, YouTube. And we have got a great guest with us today, Thea Shoemake with us today from Homeschool Ready or Not. So in your experience, what's been the most significant benefits of homeschooling for both parents and teachers?
Wow, that is a great question. I know you could do a whole show on that. Let's see. I think being able to, for me, being able to shepherd our children, not just through academics, but through every situation that they encounter from a young age, so that by a relatively early age, they're able to handle things on their own. I'm not sure if that makes sense. But shepherding them through learning how to learn, not what to learn, how to learn, sparking that lifelong curiosity, not being a slave to any agenda or curricula. But if my child is into earthworms and there's an earthworm convention in town, guess what? We're going on a field trip and we're learning about earthworms. And whatever that is, trying to encourage that constantly. I think it was Mark Twain that said, "I never let schooling get in the way of my education." And we certainly, I call homeschooling a misnomer because you're very rarely home. And every adventure outside the house is a learning adventure. Whether you're doing math with coupons and shopping and being frugal, or whether you are at a field day or sports or theater or debate, and that the community is really so diverse, and that's one of the very many benefits of homeschooling. It's learning to roll with different ages, different groups, different people, and just the well-adjusted nature of the young people that grew up in our community with us. And, as parents, we often tutored classes at each other's, that each other's child attended, or at each other's house or whatever. And the community is just so supportive and good. And there's a community for every person or every family.
We have got a great guest with us today. She joins us live here on our big broadcast. Thea Shoemake is with us. She is amazing. Homeschool, Ready or Not, is the latest from her, and she joins us here on our big program. So how does Homeschool, Ready or Not support parents in making informed decisions about homeschooling curriculum and resources?
Well, hopefully we do that initially with the information sessions that are available on the homepage. You just go to it and you can click on all three. And then we answer via video, unless it's something that, something personal that a parent doesn't want answered via video. Questions about curricula, questions about the lifestyle, etc. And we have different playlists on the website on which you can click and see answers to those questions or concerns and give guidance. We have a few videos from homeschool conventions, which I love, but I'm not sure I would go to as a first-time homeschooler. Like I did the first time and my eyes rolled back into my head. I felt completely overwhelmed. But they are wonderful if you have a plan and you know your budget. And so things like that hopefully are an information aggregate for parents. Because if you sit down, again, like I did, and put in the search engine homeschool curricula or homeschool socialization or whatever term you might put in there, you're going to get so many results back that you're just, again, it can be overwhelming. So hopefully we can be an information aggregate for parents to point them in the direction of communities with which we've had personal experience and help filter down some of those options or concerns or questions.
We've got a great guest with us today. Fantastic guest with us today. Thea Shoemake is with us. She joins us live here on our big broadcast. Homeschool, Ready or Not is the latest from her, and she joins us today here on AMFM247.com. So what are some misconceptions about homeschooling that you often encounter, and how do you work to dispel these?
Well, I love myth busting. I think the obvious one is socialization. And I think that if there was a truth to that myth that has lingered, it may stem from the time before homeschooling was legal in all 50 states. And that was as early as 1993, or I should say as late as 1993. And I'm sure there were parents that told their children, hey, don't get too chatty outside the house during school hours, lest we get a visit from the truancy officer. So that might be part of why children could have seemed a little introverted. But I always say that introversion is a personality trait, right? If you show me an introverted child, I'll show you one or both parents that are introverts. So whatever the concern about homeschooling, I can usually turn it right back around to a traditional environment. And guess what? The beauty of homeschooling is that if you are concerned about it, you can mitigate it. If you have an introverted child, you can shepherd them to be a functional person within your community and as they grow up. So that's just not it's just not an issue. Again, the community is so wonderful and so vast at this point. James, the K through 12 representation of the homeschool demographic is up past the double digits. I think it's 11% now. So, it's not it's not small, and it's getting larger. So socialization is certainly the main one that I can bust pretty easily, and there are several more.
We have got Thea Shoemake with us today, homeschool ready or not. She joins us live here on our big broadcast. So how do you balance advocating for homeschooling while also acknowledging the importance of traditional education methods?
Well, that's a great question. We want all educational environments to thrive. Again, public, private, homeschool. In my opinion, I think homeschooling is the last bastion of pure, unbridled innovation in the education environment, just because we're not owned by anyone yet, and we need to be very cognizant of how that happens. And so, a lot of parents are looking at homeschooling or private school, short-term, long-term, whatever it ends up being, while their public school gets their proverbial, heads from their bums. So they basically feel betrayed, is what parents tell me, when they found out what went on during the distance learning during COVID. And, when they tried to interject back into the system with a teacher or a school board meeting, their options ranged from being silenced to being removed to being arrested. And so they just doubled down on that betrayal. So, I'm not sure if the traditional environments are redeemable at this point. I honestly don't know. I don't know if they need to implode. All I know is that when one or more of those educational environments are not thriving, parents need to know that they have options. And no parent in the United States of America should feel stuck to an agenda-driven or unsafe school.
We've got Thea Shoemake with us today, homeschool ready or not, and she joins us today here on our big broadcast, coast to coast, border to border on iHeartRadio today. And, of course, you can get a hold of us online at jiggyjaguar.com. Thea Shoemake with us today. She joins us talking about homeschool ready or not, which is a fantastic resource. If you are looking to get into the world of homeschooling, I highly recommend that is the place to be. So, Tay, talking a little bit more about homeschooling and all the different things that are surrounding it, can you share a success story of a family that you've worked with through homeschool ready or not and the positive impact that homeschooling has had on their lives?
Absolutely. So recently there was a family where some pretty severe bullying was taking place with one of their middle schoolers. And it was filtering through to the older and younger siblings of this particular middle schooler. And so someone reached out to me on behalf of that family, and we connected. We put a plan together, a short-term, a long-term plan, because the school was, they weren't quite sure how they were going to handle it. And because of that, this particular family wasn't sure what was going to go on for that particular year. And at the end of the day, they ended up homeschooling. And the short-term plan, James, was just for the first semester, right? Giving the school time to work it out. The family was not sure if the school was acting in good faith or if they were going to come to the table with reasonable resolutions. And so just for the first semester. And the school was not coming to the table, and so they continue today. And we continue to shepherd them, but we did link them with a local community. We found a local community and into which they were able to yoke and be able to thrive with one another. Because really, that's what it's about too. And that community gives you accountability. That community gives you fellowship, and that's just so important on that journey.
We have got Thea Shoemake with us today. She joins us live here on our big program. She is fantastic, and she has Homeschool Ready or Not. And she joins us this week here on our big program. So what future plans or developments do you have in mind for Homeschool Ready or Not to further support homeschooling families?
Well, we are going to continue to put content on the website as we get inquiries and as new information comes, and we kind of partner with other organizations. And what I'd like to do, James, is put coaching. I've gotten a lot of emails about, I don't know that coaching is the right word. Consulting, I don't know what the right word is for this particular environment, but just people who would like me to do what I did for the family I just described. And just get people started, make sure they're legal, cross the T's, dot the I's, put together some curricula options, and then help them find community. And that's a little harder if it's, outside of my particular region, but not wholly undoable. So I would like to put that resource on the website, and I'm working now with someone that will hopefully, I need help. I'm a Gen Xer, which means I'm pretty tough, but I still have issues with email on my phone. So working with someone now to help me do that on the website.
So before we let you go, what is the one goal that you have for the next couple years, but besides what you just spoke on?
Well, it's going to sound underwhelming, but when we launched, and we're fairly new, we launched a couple months ago. My goal, James, is to reach that one family that is maybe on the fence, that, the good Lord knows that he wants them to homeschool or he wants them to try it, whatever the case may be. I used to tell our children growing up, actually I still tell them, everyone we meet is going through something, right? And it might be a smile, it might be a thank you, or some kind word that just affects one person differently. And we may never know how it affects somebody. The results are never up to us. And so just that one person, make a difference today, whether you find out if it's, whether you know who it is or not. And that was really the goal of the website, to help, that one family out there. So I cut out a picture of a family, and it's on my mirror. And so when I do videos, which I'm not very good at, but, I think I'm pretty proficient at this point, I just think of that one family to whom I'm supposed to be speaking. And if it happens to be more than that, then great. That's a bonus. But I just want to help people, because I don't think people should feel stuck, again, in the United States of America to an unsafe situation or an agenda-driven situation. So that's pretty much it.
That's awesome. Well, before we let you go, how do we get in touch with you online, social media, all the various things?
Homeschool Ready